With each day that passes, the good faith that was built around MrBeast's public persona is slowly being chipped away at by things like releasing food products with mold on them.
This is molded. That's mold. This is not safe.
Being exposed for not really paying for things he said he'd pay for.
We want to make a $100,000 donation.
It'll bring sight to thousands of people.
Mission Flight is one of the nonprofits that's featured in that video. We have yet to receive a penny from MrBeast or anyone mentioned in that video.
Former employees speaking to his detriment, and reports coming out about unsafe work conditions on his sets. If you told someone a year ago that his public image would be tanking like this, they'd have called you a liar and told you to take your conspiracy theory somewhere else. At least most people would. If you've been following MrBeast's current trajectory, then you'd know it was only a matter of time before something like this happened, and it's only gonna get worse. Everyone has something that motivates them, the reason for waking up in the morning and continuing to run on the hamster wheel of life. For some, it's the overbearing weight of responsibility, like wanting to take care of your family and friends. For others, it's the dream that today is the day they escape that hamster wheel. But for MrBeast, it's making the greatest, most extravagant YouTube videos his mind can think of. Since the very start, MrBeast had this burning desire to create YouTube videos and was willing to do anything to make it so that he'd be able to spend his days focusing on just that. From reading to 100,000 in one sitting, to listening to an annoying video for 10 hours straight, to fully committing to and actually going through with cutting a table in half using only plastic knives. This mentality of borderline torturing yourself just to create a decent video was birthed, and it didn't stop once he actually garnered some fame. It evolved. It was clear in his mind that if he was able to get millions of views torturing himself with less subscribers, then he should be able to get even more millions of views with more subscribers in his pocket. Spending 24 hours in a pit of slime, spending 24 hours underwater, these videos worked. And although these challenges didn't make up the majority of his content, they still existed as a proof of concept. They worked so well, in fact, that MrBeast decided to include his close friends, who also happened to be his employees, in these challenges, and it worked. The beautiful thing is, he'd already tortured himself in these same ways, so he knows exactly how far he can push them before they reach that breaking point. And he also knows what they would need in order to last longer, or what he could do to annoy them, which would make for a more entertaining video while also incentivizing them to leave. And that's another thing, incentive. See, when MrBeast puts himself through one of these challenges, he's just doing it for the love of the game with the hope that he'd be making a very entertaining YouTube video, but for everyone else, there's a cash prize. There'd have to be, otherwise why torture yourself if you don't have the same mental fortitude as MrBeast? And so the challenges became a mainstay on the channel. Survive a wild scenario and you too could win a life-changing amount of money. Now by this point, MrBeast is well known as a YouTuber that gives away a lot of money. He's starting to get mainstream appeal in that regard, and the dynamic has changed from when it was just him and his friends goofing off in front of the camera. He has employees. He's bringing in actual random contestants, and he can only torture them but so much. It's one thing to torture yourself and say you did it for the views. It's another thing to ask your friends that are helping you out with the channel to participate in the tortures themselves. But it's an entirely different animal to bring in a random person and dangle a life-changing amount of money in their face if they're willing to sit through a dangerous challenge. I'm certain there's only but so far you'd be willing to push them physically, and so that's how you end up with toned-down challenges like last to stop sitting on a toilet or last to take their hands off a Lamborghini. They're still challenges, but the risk of psychological or physical damage is very, very low. So now around the time he's doing these safe challenges and focusing on building extravagant sets that are a marvel on the eyes, occasionally we get to see the torture videos, only this time MrBeast is the primary subject. Staying in a block of ice for 50 hours, burying yourself alive for 50 hours, spending 50 hours in solitary confinement. At this point, he doesn't have to do this to himself. He has enough resources to where as though he can develop a different way to get views. No, these are videos he's choosing to make. It's something he enjoys. He just hasn't found the safest way to incorporate it into his videos where he brings in random contestants. That is until his Squid Games video. Now there isn't much in the physical torture department, however he focuses on the psychological aspect, studying who the contestants interact with the most so that way you can pair them up and watch them eliminate each other is some good entertainment, but also devious. This is also one of the first times that he had to experiment with longer formatted videos that don't follow his usual fast-paced editing and relied more on the story aspect, something that he had been aware of and was actively attempting to do. Seeing the success from this video, he incorporates these mental challenges into the channel more and more until we reach his current era, which I would call his psychological torture era. He's currently at the peak of the mountaintop, Any idea he gets, he can create, and yet we still see him torturing himself by doing things like spending 7 days underground in a glass coffin, risking his own sanity by staying within solitary confinement for a week, and actually attempting to starve himself for an entire month. No one with his resources would attempt anything like this. It's completely unnecessary, and yet he does it because he enjoys it. And now he's figured out how to involve others in this game of his, having them spend long periods of time in relative isolation on different sets or stages, either by themselves or with a partner, allows for him to play with different kinds of storytelling and comes with a variety of results. Some people are better built for it, like in the case of this guy who spent 100 days in a house that MrBeast and crew slowly tore apart, but for others it wasn't really that great of a time. This man spending a month isolated in a grocery store nearly lost his mind, and these two groups of people slowly started resenting each other so much that you could feel the tension through the screen. In this video in particular, it got so bad that MrBeast himself commented on it in the video, showing that he's well aware of what he's doing to these people's psyches.
Hugo and Rain do not really like each other.
Hugo and Rain's relationship was beginning to unravel again. And as the days went on, the tension between Hugo and Rain was causing them to make careless mistakes. I could tell that they were struggling. They may have stayed together, but the money was the only thing keeping them here.
But I don't see him slowing down with the production of these kinds of videos that they've been popping up more and more frequently on the channel. And why should he? If people are willing to participate, and even more people are enjoying the content, what's the incentive for him to stop or to cut back? It isn't like he's doing anything new. Reality TV has been farming drama and psychological torture content for years, and he hasn't done anything even remotely close to extreme as Fear Factor. Yet, with the way things are trending, he'll eventually get to that point. It's just a matter of time. And that brings me back to the point I've been trying to make with this entire video. With the way MrBeast moves, where it's content over everything, where he has this tendency to lean towards semi-torturous content, the fact that he's always trying to one-up himself and make bigger and better content, and the fact that he's willing to work with anyone if it means he's able to funnel money back into his content, he was bound to run into problems. Because he leans towards it, he's going to continue making his challenge content more extreme to the point that someone is going to get hurt in a real way. Because he loves making things bigger and more extravagant, he's going to need more and more people to help out with these endeavors. It's easy to manage a company and stay on top of things when it's just you and your friends goofing off. Bringing in a fleet of people to work as staff and even more as your contestants, it becomes more difficult to manage, and bad apples tend to know how to slip through the cracks. You're also going to come across people that work for you, but only for the reason that they can make a lot of money next to you. So while you may be willing to funnel all of your profits into your videos, they may not. They'll try to do things the cheapest way possible so they can get a bigger payday, and that can lead to money not properly being spent on the sets you build, which will be a problem. These problems are going to continue to present themselves, and his public image is going to continue to take hits until he reaches a point that he can't return from. See, as much as people are dogging on him right now, MrBeast hasn't had a Logan Paul in the Suicide Forest moment where everyone, including the folks that aren't chronically online, sifting through 50 plus videos worth of lore on why MrBeast is a horrible person, is talking about the controversy he's in. That's the kind of stain that a note sap apology or an allegedly rigged giveaway can get rid of. And like I've been saying, it's really only a matter of time before he gets there. Now, with all that being said, I didn't make this video to say MrBeast is a terrible person that needs to be stopped before he commits some sort of worldwide atrocity. Now, I'm not here to vindicate him to anyone that dislikes him, because technically he personally has not physically harmed anyone yet. That's for you to decide. I just thought that it's interesting. You could have really predicted this if you studied him and how he moves. And if that's the kind of analyses that you enjoy, subscribe, because I'll for sure do more like this in the future.